Humanity had learned long ago how to stay quiet. On the outer edge of the galaxy, far from the bright trade routes and loud empires, human worlds drifted like scattered islands. Their stars were dimmer, their colonies smaller, their signals weaker than most. To the great galaxy empire, humanity was a footnote. A species listed in records, marked as cooperative, slow-growing, and harmless. No threat. No interest. That was exactly how humans wanted it. Admiral Tesu stood on the command deck of the Long Range observation vessel Silent River, looking out at a screen filled with stars. He was not an old man, but the lines on his face showed years of careful duty. He had spent most of his career not fighting, but watching. Watching patterns, watching movements, watching the mistakes of others. The ship floated beyond normal trade space, hidden by layered stealth systems that bent light and scattered energy readings. To any scanner, Silent River did not exist. Tezu clasped his hands behind his back as data streams moved across the display. Imperial patrol routes, energy spikes, signal delays, all small things easy to miss if someone was not paying attention. Any changes? He asked calmly. Lieutenant Ara, seated at the sensor station, shook her head. Nothing obvious, sir. Patrol behavior is normal. No direct approach toward human space. Tesu nodded. Normal never meant safe. Across human territory, similar ships watched in silence. Humanity did not expand fast. It did not boast. It did not challenge borders. Instead, it learned. Every encounter with another species was studied. Every treaty was read carefully. Every conflict between empires was recorded, broken down. Humans had noticed a pattern early in their spacefaring history. The galaxy empire grew not by trust, but by pressure. Smaller species were offered protection. Later, they were asked for resources. Then ships. Then obedience. Resistance always came too late. Humanity decided it would not be late. On the planet Hedgen, deep within human-controlled space, scientist Hannah walked through a quiet research hall. The building was simple, almost plain, with smooth walls and low light. It did not look like the center of advanced science. That was intentional. Hannah stopped in front of a large projection table. Data hovered above it, shifting slowly. Energy readings from beyond the frontier. Faint, distorted, and deliberately masked. She frowned. These are not random, she said softly. Engineer Jisoo looked up from a console. Imperial tests? Not officially, Hannah replied. They are too careful for that. But something is happening close to our outer systems. Jisoo crossed his arms. Do we report this to the council? Hannah hesitated. We send it to the fleet first. Quietly. Silence had always been humanity's shield. But silence did not mean blindness. On a mining colony near the border, Captain Inho watched cargo drones move slowly between platforms. The station was small, functional, home to fewer than 2,000 people. Families, workers, children who had grown up under artificial skies. Inho had served in the defense forces for years, yet his post here felt more like retirement. No battles, no alerts. Just routine checks and the endless dark beyond the hull. Captain, a junior officer, called out. Long-range sensors picked up a signal spike. Very brief. Inho turned. Source? Unknown. Direction suggests Imperial space. Inho frowned. Log it. Increase passive monitoring. No active scans. Yes, sir. The spike faded as quickly as it appeared. Officially, it meant nothing. Unofficially, it matched reports coming in from other stations. Small events. Easy to ignore. Dangerous when combined on Earth. The human homeworld, Counselor Yuna, reviewed reports late into the night. Earth no longer ruled humanity, but it remained a symbol. Decisions made here carried weight. YUNA was known for her calm voice and careful words. She believed fear led to mistakes, and mistakes led to suffering. She read the report from Admiral Tezu twice. Imperial fleet movements had shifted slightly. Not toward human space, but closer. Testing response times. Mapping reactions. Yuna leaned back in her chair. "They are looking at us," she said quietly. An advisor across the table nodded. "Or through us." "Either way," Yuna replied, "we must be ready." Readiness did not mean panic. Humanity had prepared for this moment for generations. Deep beneath the surfaces of several human worlds, hidden shipyards waited in darkness. Their doors were sealed, their reactors dormant. Only a few knew their true purpose. Even fewer knew how many there were. Human ships were different from Imperial designs. Where the Empire favored size and display, humans favored adaptability. Modular hulls. Systems that could change roles mid-flight. Crews trained to think independently rather than wait for orders. Admiral Tesu walked through one such facility weeks later. The lights were low. The ships rested like sleeping animals. "We are still invisible," an officer said. "Imperial sensors have not detected anything unusual." Tesu placed a hand on the hull of a cruiser. "Good. Let them keep thinking that." The Empire did not see humanity as a threat, because humanity had never acted like one. No border disputes. No trade pressure. No military parades. What the Empire did not understand was that humans believed survival was a long game. In a small classroom on a colony world, a teacher explained galactic history to a group of children. "The Galaxy Empire is very large," she said. "It has been powerful for a long time." A child raised a hand. "Are they stronger than us?" The teacher smiled gently. "They are louder than us." Elsewhere, Imperial observers discussed humanity in bored tones. "Population growth is stable," one official said. "Technology level is average. Military presence is minimal." "Leave them," another replied. "They are useful as a buffer zone." The report was filed. The case was closed. But space does not respect closed cases. One cycle later, an Imperial test fleet conducted a maneuver near the border. The official report described it as routine navigation training. Unofficially, the fleet crossed closer than ever before. On Silent River, alarms did not sound. Instead, lights shifted color. Data streams accelerated. "They crossed the line," Era said quietly. Tesu nodded. "They wanted to see if we would react." "Should we?" "Not yet." The fleet turned away after several hours. No shots were fired. No messages exchanged. Across human space, tension rose, invisible but heavy. Hannah stood once more over her projection table. The new data confirmed her fears. Energy readings now formed a pattern. "They are preparing something," she said. "For us?" Jisoo asked. "Or near us," Hannah replied. Sometimes the difference does not matter. Captain Inho received new orders days later. Increased readiness. Updated evacuation plans. Still no weapons powered up. He looked out at the stars and felt something he had not felt in years. Anticipation on Earth. Yuna addressed the council in a closed session. "No recordings. No public statements. We will not provoke," she said. "We will not threaten. But we will not be unprepared." The vote was unanimous. Humanity remained silent, but silence, like pressure, can only last so long, in the dark between stars. Unnoticed by those who believed themselves masters of the galaxy, humanity finished its quiet preparations, and somewhere beyond the frontier, the Galaxy Empire took its first step toward a mistake it would never undo. The warning came without sound. On the edge of human space, a research station drifted in slow orbit around a cold blue moon. It was a small place, built for quiet work. Long scans. Deep measurements. No weapons, only light shields meant for dust and radiation. Inside the control room, lights glowed soft white. Screens showed steady lines and calm numbers. Nothing suggested danger. Then the stars bent. The change was slight, almost gentle, like heat over stone. If the sensors had not been tuned so carefully, it would have passed unnoticed. "Did you see that?" A technician asked. Captain Inho leaned forward in his chair. "Repeat the last scan." The data replayed. A ripple. A distortion. Something just exited faster than light, the technician said. Too close. Inho's jaw tightened. Raise shields. Passive only. No broadcasts. The station obeyed. Shields hummed softly. Seconds later, space tore open again. Imperial ships emerged without warning. 3 of them. Sharp-edged holes, marked with the symbol of the Galaxy Empire. Their weapons were already charged. No signal came. No demand. No warning. Inho stood. All hands. Emergency protocol. Evacuate the outer labs. The first shot struck the station's outer ring. There was no explosion, no fireball. The Imperial weapon sliced clean through metal and systems alike. Power vanished from half the station in a blink. People were thrown from their feet. Lights died. Emergency red filled the halls. They're firing. Someone shouted. Inho grabbed the console. Send a distress signal. Tight beam only. Send everything. The second shot hit the docking arm. The structure folded inward, tearing free. This was not an accident. Escape pods launched in pairs. Small and fragile against the vast dark. Imperial ships did not target them. They did not need to. The third shot ended the station. The moon kept orbiting. Space stayed silent. When the Imperial ships left, they did not look back. Inho's pod drifted for hours before a human patrol found it. Of the hundreds aboard the station, only a few dozens survived. In the medical bay of the patrol ship, Inho sat in silence. His uniform was torn. His hand shook. A recorder hovered in front of him. Captain, a calm voice said, when you are ready. Inho looked up. They didn't talk, he said. They didn't warn us. They fired like they knew exactly where to hit. Do you believe it was intentional? Yes, the word carried weight. On Earth, alarms did not ring. Instead, secure channels opened. Counselor Yuna stood as the report ended. The room was silent. Faces around the table were pale. A navigation error does not fire 3 times, she said. No, an elder counselor replied. It sends apologies. The official Imperial message arrived hours later. Regret. Tragic accident. Unstable debris field. Compensation offered. Yuna closed the message without comment. Admiral Tesu, she said, turning to the screen. Your assessment. Tesu's image flickered into focus. He looked tired, but steady. They were testing response, he said. They chose a target they believed would not matter. And now, they are watching to see what we do. Across human space, news spread fast. Not through public broadcasts, but through whispers. Families waiting for messages that would never come. Workers staring at empty sky where a station had once been. Anger did not explode. It settled in the research halls on Hedgen. Hannah stared at the new data with shaking hands. They masked their weapons as energy bursts, she said. They wanted it to look like an accident. Jisoo slammed a fist into the console. They killed people, Hannah nodded. Yes. For a long moment, neither spoke. We warned them, Jisoo said quietly. We warned ourselves, Hannah replied. Deep beneath a mountain on another world. Lights came on for the first time in decades. Shipyard doors opened. Systems woke. Admiral Tesu walked the length of the command floor. Officers stood straighter as he passed. Status, he said. Fleet readiness at 70%, an officer replied. We can reach full readiness within days. Tesu stopped. No visible movement? Not yet. Yes, sir. He looked at the holomap. Human space glowed faint blue. Imperial space burned bright red, vast and confident. They think this was small, Tesu said. They think we will accept it. Captain Inho, now recovered enough to stand, entered the room. His face was drawn, but his eyes were clear. I have the recordings, he said. Clean, undeniable. Tesu nodded. Good. We will not shout. We will show. On Earth, Yuna addressed humanity. The broadcast was simple. No dramatic music. No raised voice. Today, she said, we lost people. Not to chance. Not to nature. but to a choice made by another power. She paused. We will not respond with fear. We will respond with truth. Images followed. Sensor data, weapon traces, Imperial signatures. Silence filled homes and stations. They believed we would stay quiet, Una said. They were wrong. Across the galaxy, neutral observers noticed a change. Human trade slowed. Civilian traffic rerouted. Diplomatic channels closed politely. Then one by one, long-hidden human fleets moved. They did not rush. They did not gather in open space. They slipped from shadows. From empty regions no one had cared to scan closely. Imperial sensors missed the first, a wave entirely. When they noticed the second, panic spread through command. Centers. These ships were not on record. An Imperial officer said, "Recheck." The data, another snapped. The data did not. Change. Human ships were smaller than Imperial warships. But they moved differently. They adjusted course mid-burn. They altered energy output. They vanished and reappeared in ways Imperial models could not predict. At the edge of the system where the station had been destroyed, human ships arrived. They did not fire. Instead, they deployed beacons, markers, silent reminders. This space is watched, the signal said. This space is remembered. Imperial command dismissed it as theater. They dare not attack, an admiral declared. They know their place. But uncertainty had entered the room. Captain Inho stood on the bridge of a human cruiser for the first time. The ship felt alive beneath his feet. Orders? The helmsman asked. Inho looked at the stars. Hold position, he said. Let them see us. Back on Hedgen, Hannah finished her analysis. They are deploying a new suppression field, she said to Tesu over secure link. If they activate it near our worlds, civilian systems will fail. Tesu's expression hardened. Can we counter it? Yes, Hannah said. But only if we act first. The choice settled heavy across leadership. Una closed her eyes for a moment before opening them again. Prepare the message, she said. What message? An aide asked. The one we hoped we would never need. Across the galaxy, signals began to align. Human ships adjusted position. Systems charged, not to full power. But enough. Imperial command received a final transmission. It was short. It listed names, stations, coordinates, then one sentence. We know what you did. For the first time in centuries, the Galaxy Empire hesitated. And in that hesitation, humanity found its voice. The message did not demand anything. That was what unsettled the Galaxy Empire most. Imperial analysts replayed the transmission again and again. Names of the dead. Locations of destroyed human sites. Exact weapon signatures. Then the single sentence that followed. We know what you did. No threat. No plea. Just knowledge in the great command hall of the Empire. Silence replaced confidence. Officers avoided each other's eyes. Data screens showed human ship movements spreading like a slow tide along the border. They are bluffing. Ow. One commander said at last. A smaller power cannot challenge us. Another shook his head. Then why show restraint? Why not attack? That question had no easy answer. Human ships held their positions. They did not cross Imperial borders. They did not fire. They watched. Admiral Tesu understood the value of that silence. On the bridge of the flagship Dawn Path, he studied the map of surrounding systems. Human vessels formed a loose net, flexible and calm. Imperial fleets were larger, tighter, and rigid. Still no response? He asked. Only internal movement, an officer replied. They are repositioning, but slowly. Tesu nodded. They are unsure. Uncertainty was dangerous. It made strong powers clumsy. On Earth, Counselor Una met with representatives from across human space. The meeting was closed, shielded, and unrecorded. We have been seen, one governor said. We cannot return to the shadows. Una folded her hands. We never planned to. Another representative leaned forward. If we wait too long, they will strike again, Una said. And if we strike too soon, we become what they expect. The balance was thin. On Hedgen, Hannah and her team worked without rest. The Imperial suppression field was no longer theory. New readings showed test activations in nearby systems. If they turn it on near a populated world, Hannah said, life support will fail. Ships will fall from orbit. It will look like a disaster. But it will not be, Jisu replied. It will be a weapon. Hannah nodded. We can counter it. But only if our ships are already in place. The data was sent to Taesu and Yuna at once. Captain Inho stood on the bridge of his cruiser, watching a distant Imperial patrol drift along the edge of the system. The enemy ship was larger, armed, and confident. They are close, the helmsman said. Too close. Inho did not disagree. Maintain course. No change. The Imperial ship altered direction, moving nearer. Captain, a weapons officer said, they are locking sensors. Hino felt the familiar tightening in his chest. Hold. Record everything. Minutes passed. Then the Imperial ship turned away. A quiet breath moved across the bridge. They tested us, the helmsman said. Yes, Inho replied. And learned something. Across the border, Imperial commanders argued. They do not react like a weak species, one said. They do not act like a strong one either, another replied. What are they? No one answered. The first real change came 3 days later, an Imperial suppression field, activated near a sparsely populated system. Officially, it was another test. Unofficially, it was a warning. Human sensors detected it instantly, field strength rising. An officer reported to Taesu, it will affect civilian infrastructure if it spreads. Taesu did not hesitate. Deploy countermeasures. Localized only. Human ships moved. To Imperial observers, it looked like a minor adjustment. A slight shift in formation. Nothing threatening. Then the suppression field. Weakened, Imperial technicians stared at their screens. That should not be possible. One whispered, human technology did not overpower the field. It slipped through it, adapted, redirected its effects outward, harmlessly into empty space. The Empire's test failed. The news spread. Fast. Through Imperial command, they can neutralize. It, an admiral said. Then escalate, another replied. But escalation required certainty, and certainty was gone. On Earth. Yuna received reports from neutral systems. Traders, observers, minor powers. Human restraint was being noticed. They are asking questions, Nade said. About the station. About the Empire's actions? Yuna nodded. Good. Public opinion in the galaxy was a slow force, but it mattered in a distant neutral system. A council of smaller species watched human and Imperial ships on shared displays. The Empire says it was an accident. One delegate said, then why so many lies? Another asked, humanity did not speak to them directly. It did not need to evidence spoke well enough. Back at the Dawn Path, Taesu reviewed a new proposal. Limited strike, an officer said carefully. Against a military relay, no casualties. No territory taken? Taesu considered it. If we do this, there is no return to silence. Yes, sir. Taesu looked at the stars. He thought of the station. The names in the message. Prepare the fleet, he said. But we wait for the signal. The signal came from Hannah. They are preparing a full activation, she said. Near a populated route. If they succeed, people will die. Taesu closed his eyes for a moment. Understood. He opened a channel to Earth. Counselor, he said, we are out of time. Yuna's voice was steady. Do what you must. Do it clean. The order went out. Human ships did not rush forward in a single wave. They separated. Groups of 3 or 4, moving along paths that seemed random. Imperial sensors struggled to track them. At a key Imperial relay station, alarms began to sound. Multiple contacts and officers shouted. Unknown vectors. Human ships appeared close enough to be seen. With the naked eye, they fired. Once, the shot was precise, focused. It cut power to the relay without damaging the station itself. No explosion followed. Just darkness. Across the region, Imperial communications faltered. Human ships withdrew immediately. The entire action lasted less than 5 minutes. When Imperial Command restored partial contact, confusion ruled. They struck us, an admiral said, but spared us. Another slammed a fist into the table. This is humiliation. Yes, a third replied quietly, and a warning. Human fleets returned to their positions. No victory message was sent. No celebration held. On Earth, Una watched the reports in silence. We crossed the line, an aide said. Una nodded. They crossed it first. Captain Inho stood alone on the observation deck of his ship. He looked at the stars and thought of the people who never made it off the station. This was for you, he said softly. The Galaxy Empire began mobilizing in earnest, but now it did so with fear for the first time. The Empire understood that humanity is not hiding because it was weak. It was waiting. The Empire answered at last. The response did not come as words. Across several border systems, Imperial fleets surged forward at once, not in a careful line, not with restraint, but with weight and speed meant to crush resistance. Their commanders believed the time for warning had passed. Humanity had struck Imperial property. That alone demanded punishment. Imperial doctrine was simple. Overwhelm, break, absorb. Human sensors saw. The movement long before the fleets reached the border. On the bridge of the Dawn Path, Admiral Tezu watched red markers bloom across the map. They have committed, an officer said. Full advance. Tezu nodded. As expected, he did not raise his voice. He did not hurry. Signal all groups, he said. Phase 1. Human ships moved. 2 Imperial eyes. The border seemed thinly defended. Scattered human vessels drifted back, giving ground without firing. It looked like retreat. Imperial commanders smiled. They fold, one said. Push through. The push carried the Imperial fleets into carefully chosen space. Empty space. No stations. No colonies. No civilians at the center of it all. Silent human buoy activated. The galaxy listened. Every major channel, open and closed, carried the same signal. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. It was clear. Counselor Una appeared on screens across human space and far beyond it. She stood alone. Hands folded, eyes steady. This message is sent to the Galaxy Empire, she said. And to all who are watching. Her voice did not shake. Humanity has endured observation, pressure, and loss in silence. We did not answer provocation. We did not answer insult. Images followed. The destroyed station. The names of the dead. The weapon traces. We answered only when lives were taken, Una continued. And even then, we chose restraint. She paused. That restraint has been answered with invasion. The words settled heavily. From this moment, Una said, humanity considers itself at war with the Galaxy Empire. No cheers followed. No threats. We will defend our people. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will not strike civilians. We will not erase cultures. Her gaze hardened. But we will no longer stay silent. The signal ended. Across the galaxy, reaction exploded. Neutral systems froze trade. Minor powers scrambled defenses. Imperial citizens stared at screens in disbelief. They declared war. Imperial aide whispered. Yes, an admiral replied. On us. In the contested region, Imperial fleets surged forward, weapons charging, then space changed. Human ships that had been retreating stopped at once. They turned, not as one solid wall, but as many small blades. Commander Doyon stood at the center of the formation aboard the cruiser Clear Sky. Targets locked, a weapons officer said. Doyon nodded. Priority is command and coordination. No pursuit. The first human volley did not aim for holes. It aimed for eyes. Imperial sensor arrays failed in bursts of white static. Communication nodes went dark. Fleet cohesion shattered. Multiple system failures. an Imperial officer shouted. "We've lost targeting." Human ships slipped between larger vessels, too close and too fast for heavy weapons to track. Their fire was brief, precise, and controlled. Imperial ships began colliding with each other as formations broke. "Pull back," an admiral ordered. But retreat required order, and order was gone. From the dawn path, Tesu watched the battle unfold. "Hold them there," he said. "Do not encircle." "Yes, sir." Human doctrine was not about destruction. It was about control. Within minutes, the Imperial advance stalled. Losses mounted, not in ships destroyed, but in ships disabled. Power gone. Drive silent. Crews alive but stranded. Commander Doyen's voice came through the channel. Phase 1 complete. Tesu exhaled slowly. Proceed to Phase 2. Human fleets shifted again. Imperial commanders, blind and furious, ordered full weapons release. That was the moment humanity had prepared for. Hannah's countermeasures. Activated across the battle space. Imperial weapons lost efficiency. Energy bled off into space. Targeting solutions slipped away at the last second. "They are interfering with everything," an Imperial technician cried. "No," another replied, staring at the data. "They understand everything." On Earth, Eunice stood with the Council as reports arrived. Human casualties were low. Civilian traffic untouched. Imperial losses climbed. "They are asking for negotiations," an aide said. Eunice shook her head. "Not yet." Inho commanded a support wing near the edge of the fight. His role was rescue. "Pick up escape pods," he ordered. Imperial and human. A junior officer hesitated. Sir Inho did not look away from the screen. "We are not them." Rescue craft moved into danger, pulling survivors from crippled ships. Imperial crews stared in shock as human hands helped them aboard. "Why?" one asked. Inho answered simply, "Because you are alive." The battle ended as suddenly as it began. Human ships withdrew in clean lines, leaving behind a field of disabled Imperial vessels and confused commanders. No territory was claimed, no victory announced. Across the galaxy, the meaning was clear. Humanity could have destroyed the invading fleets. It chose not to in the Imperial capital. Panic spread. "They beat us," one official said. "And let us live," another replied. Neutral systems began issuing statements. Calls for investigation. Calls for restraint. Calls questioning Imperial authority. The Empire's image cracked. On the dawn path, Tesu removed his gloves and leaned on the railing. "This will not end it," an officer said. "No," Tesu agreed. "But now they understand the cost." Captain Inho watched Imperial ships being towed by their own crews. The war had begun, but humanity had declared something more than conflict. It had declared that power did not need cruelty, and the galaxy was watching. The Empire did not fall in a single moment. It began to crack. News of the failed invasion spread faster than any fleet. Imperial commanders tried to control the story, but too many eyes had seen too much. Disabled warships drifting in space. Human rescue craft pulling survivors from wreckage. Recordings leaked despite strict orders. Across Imperial systems, citizens asked questions that had never been asked before. If the Empire was unbeatable, how had this happened? In neutral space, traders spoke openly now. They compared notes. They shared data. Humanity's actions did not match Imperial claims. They could have destroyed them, one merchant said. They chose not to. Here. That choice mattered. Admiral Tesu knew the war had entered a new phase. On the dawn path, he studied reports from across the frontier. Imperial fleets were pulling back, consolidating near core systems. Patrols vanished from several outer regions. "They are protecting themselves," an officer said. "Yes," Tesu replied, "and leaving others exposed." That exposure did not go unnoticed. In systems long under Imperial rule, old tensions resurfaced. Resource demands had increased for decades. Local defenses had been stripped away to support the war effort. Now, Imperial ships were gone, on a mining world far from human space. Workers gathered in silence as the last Imperial patrol departed. "They're not coming back," someone whispered. "What do we do now?" another asked. The answer came from elsewhere. Human ships arrived days later. Not warships, but escorts. Medical vessels. Supply carriers. They did not raise flags. They did not demand loyalty. A simple message played on open channels. "We are not here to rule. We are here to stop the war from reaching you." The effect was immediate. Imperial. Governors sent frantic messages to the capital. "They are undermining authority," one complained. "They are exposing weakness," another said. At the heart of the empire, analysts like Sajin watched the situation unravel. Sajin had served the empire his entire life. He believed in order, in stability. But the numbers on his screen told a different story. "Outer systems are refusing resource quotas," he reported. "Some have stopped responding entirely." "Threaten them," a superior snapped. "With what?" Sejin asked quietly. Silence followed. Imperial fleets regrouped near a critical industrial hub. The command intended to strike hard and restore fear. Human sensors detected the buildup immediately. "They are planning a decisive blow," an officer said to Tesu. Tesu nodded. "Then we remove their certainty." He did not order an attack. Instead, humanity spread information. Detailed records of Imperial actions were released to neutral networks. Verified data. No edits. No commentary. Destroyed stations. Suppression field tests. Casualty lists. The galaxy reacted. Neutral councils called emergency sessions. Trade alliances suspended agreements with the Empire. "They lied to us," delegate said, "and they failed." Another added. Imperial leaders tried to answer with force. The strike fleet launched. Commander Doyon watched it from a distance. "They're angry," he said. "That makes them predictable." Human ships moved ahead of the fleet, not to block it, but to shape its path. False openings. Apparent weaknesses. The Imperial fleet followed, straight into a dead zone. Human ships cut communication relays again. But this time, deeper. Coordinated across multiple systems, Imperial commanders lost contact with each other. Confusion turned to fear. Fall back. Orders clashed. Advance. Others shouted. The fleet fractured. Human ships struck in small groups, sabling engines and weapons, then pulling away. Imperial losses mounted, but worse than losses was doubt. On Earth, Una listened to reports from liberated systems. "They are asking for protection," an aide said. "Not conquest. Protection." Closed her eyes briefly. "We must be careful." "We are," the aide replied, "but they trust us." Trust was a heavy thing. Inho oversaw evacuation support in his system. It's caught between Imperial retreat and human advance. Civilians crowded docking bays. Shh. Fear filled the air. Inho stood in the open, unarmed. "No one will be forced," he said. "You choose where you go." Some left with Imperial ships. Others stayed, none were harmed. Imperial propaganda tried to paint humanity as manipulators, but images told a different story. Human medics treating alien children. Engineers repairing power grids without payment. The Empire's voice grew weaker. Sajin submitted. Another report. "If this continues," he wrote, "we will lose the outer regions without a single formal defeat." Response came back sharp. "Find a way to break them." Sajin stared at the screen. He did not know if that was possible. In a quiet room aboard the Dawn Path, Tesu met with his senior officers. "We are winning," one said. Tesu shook his head. "We are surviving. The galaxy is choosing." That choice became clear when a coalition of neutral systems announced a joint demand. Cease Imperial expansion. Open investigations. Accept oversight. The Empire refused. That refusal costed everything. Revolts broke out. Supply lines failed. Entire fleets went without fuel. Humanity did not lead the revolts. It stood nearby, ready on Earth. Una addressed humanity again. "This war is not about replacing one empire with another," she said. "It is about ending a cycle. The message reached far beyond human space. In the Imperial capital, alarms rang day and night. Sejin watched the empire he had served begin to collapse under its own weight. "They were never afraid of us," he whispered. "They were afraid of losing control." In space, once ruled by fear, something new took hold: hope and the Galaxy Empire. Shaken to its core, could no longer stop it. Victory began to feel dangerous. That thought stayed with Counselor Yuna as she reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Imperial authority was collapsing in waves. Systems once bound by fear were choosing their own paths. Human ships were everywhere now, not as conquerors, but as witnesses. And that was the problem. Power had a way of changing those who held it for too long. On the dawn path, Admiral Tesu stood alone, watching a star rise over the curve of a distant world. The war had aged him, not in body, but in weight. "We are being asked to stay," an officer said quietly behind him. "Several systems want permanent protection." Tesu did not turn. Protection can become control. Yes, sir. Human commanders across the frontier faced similar choices. It was easy to defeat an enemy in battle. It was harder to know when to stop. In one liberated system, a human task force arrived to find chaos. Imperial governors had fled. Local leaders argued. Old grudges flared. Commander Doyon watched the unrest from orbit. "If we step in too hard," an aide said, "we rule them. If we do nothing," Doyon replied, "they tear themselves apart." He chose a third path. Human ships broadcast a simple rule: no weapons near population centers, no retaliation strikes, no forced loyalty. Anyone who violated those rules would be stopped by anyone. The message spread. Local groups hesitated, then listened. Stability returned. Slowly, not because humans demanded it, because they enforced boundaries without ownership. On Earth, Yuna met with Hannah and Sajin through a secure channel. Sajin had defected weeks earlier, bringing Imperial data with him. "You know they will call you traitor," Yuna said. Sajin nodded. "I served a lie. I will not defend it." Hannah studied the information Sajin had provided. "The Empire still has one option," she said. "A final strike. High yield. No restraint." Yuna's jaw tightened. "Where?" "Anywhere they think will hurt us enough to force surrender," Hannah replied. "Or provoke us into becoming monsters." That was the test. Inho understood it better than most. He walked through a refugee station, filled with species he had never seen before. Children played between cargo crates. Adults watched human soldiers with wary eyes. A woman approached him. "Are you going to leave?" she asked. "Yes," Yenho said. She looked afraid. "Then who protects us?" Inho knelt, so they were eye level. "You protect each other," he said. "We'll come back if someone tries to stop you." It was not the answer she wanted, but it was the honest one. Imperial remnants struck 2 days later. A hidden fleet bypassed the main fronts and jumped toward a densely populated trade route. Civilian ships filled the lanes. Panic spread. Human sensors caught the jump instantly. "They're going for fear," an officer said. Tesu did not hesitate. Maximum defense, minimum force. The battle was chaotic. Imperial ships fired wildly, aiming to cause destruction rather than victory. Human ships placed themselves between enemy fire and civilian vessels. Shields flared. Hulls burned. Several human ships were crippled. They held in the end. The Imperial fleet was disabled. No civilian ships were lost. The cost was heavy. Human casualties were the highest of the war. On Earth, Una stood before the council as the numbers were read aloud. Silence filled the chamber. "We could have ended them," one counselor said. "Instead, we paid for restraint." "Yes," Yuna replied. "That was the price. And if this continues," Yuna met their gaze, "then we continue paying it." The galaxy noticed footage spread of human ships shielding civilians, of crews staying at their posts while hull alarms screamed. The contrast was clear. Imperial leaders tried one last time to rally fear. "They will rule you," the broadcasts claimed. "They will replace us." But fewer listened. In Imperial space, protests turned into mass refusal. Dockworkers stopped loading warships. Engineers walked away from weapons factories. Sejin watched the feeds in silence. They taught us obedience, he said, not loyalty. On the dawn path, Tesu addressed the fleet. This war will end, he said. Sooner or later. What matters is who we are when it does. The word spread. Human crews repeated them. Inho heard them as he stood beside a memorial wall. Names filled the surface. Human and non-human. He touched the glass. We didn't win, he said quietly. We endured. The Empire's final command came days later. A call for ceasefire, conditions vague. Authority unclear, but it was surrender in all but name. Yuna read the message twice. Bring it to the table, she said, with witnesses. The war was not over, but it had reached its final question. What would humanity become now that it could choose?